The Lenten season is once again upon us, and inevitably, every year I end up making a video on why Lent is important and what I'm doing for Lent and all of that. And while I do think that's good, there's a million videos about Lent, and if you want to learn more about Lent, there's plenty of resources on that, so I'm not going to cover that this year. Rather, I recognize that a lot of my viewers aren't religious, so I want to cover how Lent could be helpful to you, or important to you, or beneficial to you, even if you're not religious and even if it has nothing to do with God for you this year. So if you happen to not be religious and watch my videos, I still appreciate you being here, and I'd appreciate if you can give me the chance to talk about this and trust in that I'm not just going to preach to you about, oh, God is good, you need to convert, but rather the beneficial side of Lent, even again, if it's not going to involve God. So we know as a group, as humans, as overall, we know that sometimes giving things up can be beneficial to us as humans. In our modern day, we see a lot of people who go on social media purges or social media fasts where they try and give it up so that they can work on their mental health or some other aspect of their life. We see people participate in things like dry January or sober January where they try not to drink for an entire month. And I think most popular, most recently, is people who are trying to go anti consumption, who are trying to fast from spending, who are trying to be less materialistic and get more experiences out of life rather than accumulating more clutter out of life. And again, I think most people can agree that these are good things. It is good for people to do those things. It's good to practice self control. It's good to care more about our health rather than material things. These are all good things. Yet, strangely, when we bring up the reason why we're doing it, it can completely change someone's opinion. For example, if you had a coworker who talked to you and said, hey, I decided I'm giving up social media for my mental health, you would say, hey, good job, great. But if they said, I'm giving up social media for religious reasons as a part of Lent, there are some people who would immediately think, oh, you're brainwashed. Oh, you're brain controlled. Oh, you're a victim. Even though, as we just previously discussed, many of us agree that that would be a good thing to do to remove a little bit of social media from our life. So I understand that when you hear me talking about Lent or saying, let's give something up for Lent, again, even if I'm not talking about God, I'm just saying, let's give something up during this season to practice that self control. I understand why you'd be hesitant because a lot of us are programmed towards, oh, we hear something is religious, it's some sort of cult, it's some sort of bad thing. I don't want to focus on the religious aspect today. I just want to focus on why giving something up or doing something or building a new habit right now during this season could be beneficial to you. The basic of any fast, whether it is a social media fast, whether it's fasting from food, whether it's giving up video games, whether it's trying to give up cursing, whatever you are trying to give up, one of the main tenets of that is practicing self control. And you've probably heard it said a million times, but I am a big fan of it, so I will repeat it, that self control is a muscle like anything else. The more you work it out, the more you practice it, the better you get at it. Now, I am not a scientist or a psychologist, so I can't get into the whole why of that, but the basic gist I've read is that the brain is prone to habits, so if you reprogram it with a habit, then you are more likely to stick with that habit if you do it over a longer period of time. And that self control is a transferable skill that you can use on almost anything, right? If you have a lot of self control, that can help you to lose weight, that can help you to spend less money, that can help you to make better decisions, that can help you in your relationships. And I know relationships is kind of a hot button issue right now. I know there are a lot of young men out there who are very lonely. There's a lot of people who are being black pilled or red pilled or incel pilled or feeling like there's no one for them and that it's all hopeless and pointless and they'll never find a partner. And I'm not going to try and sell you on, hey, if you do this, it's going to get you a date. Hey, if you do this, it's going to get you a girlfriend. Nothing is going to be a miracle cure. Nothing is going to instantly fix everything in your life or change things that you want to change. However, having that self control and having that ability to better yourself is fundamental to a successful relationship. So many relationships start to fail because one person in the relationship grows and changes and another person doesn't. Who you are today is not who you will be 1 year from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. Now, I can only speak to personal experience on this, but I have been with my wife for a very long time. And a big part of that is because who we were when we first got together is not who we are now. But we grew together. Neither of us was stagnant. We always wanted to be better, whether that be through weight loss, whether that be through furthering our education, whether that be through having more experiences, whether that be a religious experience. All those things were hurdles that came in our relationship, but because we were willing to grow and change, we grew together, and that helped us to stay together. Again, this is not some miracle cure. I'm not saying that you'll never go through heartbreak, you'll never go through divorce if you do these things, but rather it's just meant to highlight how important it is the ability to grow and to change, to self-reflect, to self-discipline and deny yourself. Now, denying yourself is a very common thing in Christianity, but again, I promise not to preach here, so I'm going to take a different angle on this. Denying yourself at its core is you doing something you don't want to do in replacement of something that you would rather do. And this is, again, a core part of being an adult. We do that almost every day, right? Almost no one would rather go to work than do something fun like hiking or reading a book or playing video games or whatever your hobby is, and yet we have to do that. Unfortunately, it's a core part of our lives, whether that be relationships, whether that be work, whether that be social obligations. There will always be something that we have to do that we don't want to do in our lives. So the better we are at doing that, I think the happier you'll find you'll be. And here's an example I'll give you. Most assuredly, most of you who listen to me have gone to work, or have worked in an office, or worked with other people, have coworkers of sorts. And you all know the misery of having that coworker who comes in every single day and complains and complains and complains nonstop. Every day it's the same thing. How you doing today, Bill? I don't want to be here. I hate this. I'd rather be somewhere else. This is awful. This is stupid. I hate it here. I hate my coworkers. I hate my job. I hate my life. And everyone comes to resent them and dread them because guess what? Everyone feels that way, right? Almost everyone in that grocery store, in that office building, would much rather be doing something else, yet we all accept that this is a part of life. This is what we have to do. So we make the most of it. We make the best of it. We find joy in that tedium, in that work, or we find ways to be appreciative for it, whether that be through religion or whether that be, well, I need the paycheck so I can pay my rent and get food. And I know that's going to be some generic advice you hear all the time, but there is some truth to it that sometimes happiness is a choice, right? If you work in the same, say, grocery store as everyone else, everyone is in the same miserable position as you, and yet some people find a way to be happy with that, or at least content with their situation and make it work, and other people refuse to adapt to it, and they come in and make it everyone else's problem. And again, we all know that coworker and know that they are resented. They are deeply unhappy and no one wants to do anything with them because they're tired of hearing about the complaining because we're all in the same boat. I'm going to end with one last little bit that, again, I know it sounds like cheesy generic advice, but I found it to be true, and that is time is your most valuable resource, right? We all have a limited amount of time. And there are so many people who say, I wish I had more time to read. I wish I had more time to hang out with friends. I wish I had more time to do all these things because in our day-to-day lives, we're spending 8 hours at work, an average of 1 to 2 hours on commute. And then you've got showering and cooking and taking care of other people, all those adult responsibilities. There's just not enough time in your day. So sometimes when people pick a fast like fasting from video games or social media or doom scrolling or giving up something like that, they find themselves with a little bit more time to do the things that they do enjoy. And things add up so quickly. If you gave up, say, 30 minutes of scrolling on TikTok, Reddit, or whatever it may be, Facebook a day, over the course of a week, that's 210 minutes. Over the course of 4 weeks or a month, that's 840 minutes, or about 14 hours you could scrounge together. So if you've given me the time of day, I appreciate it. Again, I understand not everyone wants to be preached at, not everyone wants to hear about Christianity, but Catholicism does have a lot to offer, and Lent is one of those things I think everyone can benefit, even if they're not Catholic. As we've talked about, it can improve your relationships, it can give you a little bit more time, a little bit more happiness in your day. So if you're willing to give it a try, leave a comment down below. What's something that you'd be willing to give up for a month just to see how it goes, just to see what it can do for you? And if you are Christian and are giving something up for Lent, also put that down below to encourage your brothers and sisters with what you're giving up, what penance you're offering. Thank you and have a blessed day.